Alright guys, it's Friday. Today's home workout is for time, 30, 20, 10 of push presses, pull-ups, and overhead squats. Today's movements are meant to be done bilaterally, so you're going to have one object, ideally for the push press, for the pull-ups and the overhead squats. However, since we're at home, if you don't have a pull-up rig or if you don't have a barbell, feel free to do alternating push presses, so you're going 15 one side, 15 on the other. With the overhead squats, you can do one single arm overhead squats if you have the mobility for it and you got good form as you do it. Also for the pull-ups here today, guys, if you need to, you can go into some bent over rows, so single arm bent over rows on one side, then switch and do the opposite side, or alternate, up to you there. The point of this workout is to work on upper body muscle endurance. So you're gonna find that your upper body is gonna slowly start to fatigue, especially after that first round and getting into that second round there. So pick progression today, I would say, to be able to do each set in about, or each round in no more than 3 sets. Approximately. If you need to go to 4, that's okay. Maybe a couple rounds you might need to do that, and I would say that will be only the case if you're going with the prescribed weight. If you're not, then try to stick within 3 sets for that first round, then maybe about 2 sets for that second round, and ideally 1 set if you can for that last round. And we want to keep that nice high intensity, so we start to get into that muscle fatigue zone too. So try to keep your breaks nice and short. Push presses, just going from that shoulder to overhead. Pull-ups, really trying to work on that back engagement, getting those scraps nice and involved in that movement. And overhead squats here, guys. This one is a tricky movement if you're not really experienced with it. So feel free to use an overhead lunge. So you'll hold something overhead and then do a lunge forward instead of squatting. Because with squatting, again, you need that mobility in your hips, the ankles, and in that overhead position. And if it's not there, that's okay. An overhead lunge is a perfect option for building up to an overhead squat. If you have good positioning and you find that you're kind of losing it maybe just after parallel, just squat to parallel for this workout. And really work on one key aspect of that movement, whether it be squeezing the shoulder blades together, keeping a nice locked out elbow, or looking at where your wrist position is, or where your weight is distributed on your feet. Try to think about that when you do it, if you can keep good form to about parallel there. But other than that, feel free to use overhead lunges. For the time cap today, guys, I believe, off the top of my head, I think I put about 15 minutes for this one. So you should try to aim to get around that 15-minute mark for this workout here. This one, again, it'll be based off your progressions of what you use, but try to, again, really work on that muscle endurance. So if you can hang on for a little bit longer, so you can really build that endurance in your upper body. So after that, guys, we're gonna do a little bit more isolation of that upper body. We're gonna do some deadly sevens, which are the half curls, half to full curls, and full curls. You're doing all of this in one set. You're doing it all unbroken. You're really working on the biceps here. So really focusing on that movement there. And trying to isolate each kind of range of motion on its own. So working just to the halfway point, then from the halfway point to the full, and then trying to do that all together. And this is gonna be a good burn for the biceps there. And again, keep it nice and light so you can really keep good form. And then as you feel good, if you have that good technique, you guys can start going a little bit heavier for that. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoy the WOD and the AFTERBURNER. We'll see you next for the warm-up video.
Okay, let's get ready to warm up here. We're gonna start off today's warm-up with the 90-90 hip rotation. So opening up the hips. Really, the 90-90 is to focus on your internal rotation and your external rotation in your hips. A lot of times, whether you're squatting, you're running, box jumping, anytime you're moving the legs, we're not necessarily moving effectively in our hips because the rotation in our femur, so your thigh bone, isn't necessarily recruiting all the correct muscles. What I'm trying to get at is your hip flexor, your psoas, to be specific tends to get neglected. So this 90-90 really helps, guys, to open it up, loosen it up, and slowly start firing those smaller muscles. You're gonna start in your seated position, heels on the ground, guys. Knees are about 90 degrees. From here, notice how my hands are hip in line with my hips or slightly behind. You can play around with this. You're gonna drop your knees, okay? If you drop your knees and you feel maybe it's a stretch, whether it's on either leg, hang out there, hold it, okay? If you can't touch your knee to the floor, just gently try to push down as your body relaxes. Now it might be tricky to see, but my knees are actually about 90 degrees, both of them. That's where the name comes, the 90-90. From here, I'm going to rotate my knees to the other side without lifting my heels off the ground. So notice how I'm just rotating, but my heels did not change position, okay? So now I'm feeling a little tight here, so I can feel the stretch myself. So I have to reposition my hand. The key here is do not reposition your heels. It's really easy to like, yeah, I'm doing it, but you're actually not rotating through your hips when you're moving your feet. Okay, so you're gonna rotate in your hips, so this thigh for me is externally rotating as this one is internally rotating. So I'm feeling that rotation in my hips. Then I reverse the order. External rotation, internal rotation on the opposite side. The key here, guys, use this as a stretch. Feel the rotation in your hips. As you get more comfortable, come off the ground with your hands. See, can you not move your heels, but use that core to stabilize yourself. After you've done that, now let's get that heart rate going. Let's get those muscles fired up, guys. We're gonna go for 3 rounds, 30, 20, and 10. Alternating step up. So starting with 30, alternating step ups. You're gonna go up, step down, go up, step down. Trying to fire up the hamstrings and glutes on that one, okay? Stabilize your knee, so don't let your knee drop depending on how your object is. Watch for that, okay? Once you've completed the 30, then you're gonna go into your push-up position. So your high plank. From here, shoulders over your wrist. You're gonna bring your knee to the opposite side. Bring your knee to the opposite side. You're going for 30 mountain climbers, crossing your body, getting your core fired up, okay? From there, the last movement, going for some bent over flies. So I'm using these 10-pound plates here today. I'm gonna hinge at the hips, so lean forward by sneaking my bum back. From there, my back is flat, and then I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades, bring it down. Squeeze my shoulder blades, bring it down. Do it until 30. As you squeeze your shoulder blades, don't roll forward. It's okay to bend the elbows slightly so you can maximize the usage of your upper back. If you have the flexibility in your bicep and your triceps and your back muscles, feel free to go straight, guys, but play around with it to make sure you get the most out of your back without lowering the plate down too much. So you're not doing this, okay? Trying to keep them in line to your shoulders. Once you've completed 30, you're going back onto your step up for 20, repeating your movement, working your way down on the last round, doing that final round of 10. Have a great warm-up. See you next in the workout.
So for the push press, remember it's one continuous movement, so you're not re-dipping in the knees. Just make sure you squeeze those glutes, lock out those knees as you extend straight up. So if you're going single object, you can go 10 and 10 per side here. With that dip and drive, remember, as we're coming down, we want to stay nice and vertical. So we don't want to deviate that back ankle at all. We want to keep it nice and straight, almost like as if I were leaning against that wall and I'm just going down with the length of the wall there, so I'm staying nice and straight. So think about that, guys. You're dipping down, staying nice and tall. Weight is going to be a little bit more in that heel as you're coming down. On the way up, guys, driving hard through the legs. As soon as we extend those legs, those knees, we're going to be driving that weight overhead. And again, once we're over here, squeeze your shoulder blades together, make sure they're backing down. before you start that next rep. You can go continuously or you can stop in that front rack position if you need to reset. Remember, I'm going to dip and drive up. As I'm bringing it down, it's about an inch off my shoulder, about a centimeter there. I'm going to start dipping down so that I can start my next rep. So control the way down, getting ready, dip, going into that next rep.
Start off with a bent over row. So in that bent over row, feet are hip width apart, knees are perpendicular. Don't round your back, so flat back. If you're feeling tight, maybe you're up a little bit more, that's fine. If possible, drop down. From here, guys, you're gonna row that bar, in my case, as close as you can to the body. So if I had a single object, I'm still thinking about nice and tight with my elbows, not to the body, but the back, to allow me to mimic that tight bar path that I can get with a PC pipe or bar. Pass-throughs. So your arms are going to be fully locked out. Start off on the outside edge of that PVC, and we're just going to go front to back a couple times. Now, notice how Yash is keeping those shoulders down. It's common that we want to shrug the shoulders up in the pass-through. We want to try to keep the shoulders down. If that feels really easy, you can bring your hands in closer and closer until it gets to the point where it kind of gets to a point at in the overhead where it's sticky. There's a spot where it's just really hard to get through without bending those elbows. So when you find that spot, that's a great spot to start for that overhead squat. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the positioning in our upper back and shoulders. So what Yash is doing is he's actually rotating. So if I were to grab his arm and rotate it, he's trying to get the armpits pushing forward and the elbow pits pointing upwards. Once he gets into that lockout position, he's going to pinch those shoulder blades together. He's trying to get the insides of those shoulder blades closer towards each other, and he's trying to think of getting that whole shoulder blade kind of tucked into his back pocket. So he's pulling those shoulder blades down, pinching them together. Once you get into that position, we're just going to come down into our squat. So you can see Yash is going to start slowly coming down. He's got good mobility. Obviously, he practices this position since he was about 12 years old. So he's got a good spot here at the bottom. If you can look forward for me there, Yash, you want to keep that head and neck in that neutral position, squeezing those shoulder blades together, weights on the heels. You can come up there, Yash. So.
Alright guys, we're here for the afterburner. So this one's all curls, deadly 7. We're gonna go for 7 reps of half curls, 7 from the halfway point to the full extension, and then 7 full curls. Now you guys can do this with one object, so you're doing single arm, or you can grab it with both hands and do it as well. So I'm gonna show you guys with the dual option here. So first 7 reps, guys, we're just trying to get to that 90-degree point of that curl. So keep those elbows tucked in, standing nice and tall, going to that halfway point. 7 reps there. Once you finish 7 reps, you're gonna start from the halfway point, go 7 more reps until you're reaching that full flexion of that bicep at the top. Once you're done those 7 there, you're gonna come down to full extension. Then go for full curls from there for the last 7 reps. So first round may be easy based on the weight that you choose. Next round, see if you can add a little bit more weight, make it a little more challenging. Just make sure you're keeping these unbroken to really feel it in those biceps. 3 to 4 sets here. If you find 3 you're maxed out, that's fine, but if you have more in you, go for that 4th set. Hope you guys enjoy the afterburner. We'll see you tomorrow for the next one.